Hey guys, today we're looking at the Morris C.8 Mark II, the 17-pounder gun, and a Willy's Jeep by Matchbox. This is in 176 and it's a 1973 release, or at least that's what's dated on this particular box. So quite an old kit, but one of my absolute favourites within the Matchbox range. This is one I had as a kid. I didn't do a very good job of it, and you might argue I didn't do a very good job of it this time either, but it'll have to do. This particular one is one of the kits that comes with a diorama, and it's a multiple piece kit. As you can see, it's got the gun, the Jeep, and the truck, and a few figures as well, and the drivers for the Jeep and the truck. You don't get a gun crew as is depicted in the back left there, unfortunately, but I'll come up with something. I'm sure I'll convert. Artwork is by Doug Post. You can see it there in the bottom right hand corner underneath the Marquette mark. That's his little signature just beneath that. Nice piece of artwork there as well. In fairness to it, it shows the action around Cannes in France in 44. It'll be June 44. So I said we'll have a little look at that today. It's a snowy day here in Tipperary. We are under 3 inches of snow, so the country has ground to the halt, unfortunately. So what else would you be doing? Only a kit. If you don't believe me, that's my garden. Anyway. So the kit itself has also been released by Revell. And it's great to see the kit still available at the moment. I don't think it's in production by Revell at the minute, but it's still available on eBay, although it's reaching kind of expensive prices at the moment. I've seen it up around the €40 mark in one instance, but generally it's about 20, 25 plus post. That's euros, so just obviously convert to your own currency depending on what jurisdiction you're in. But the box itself, anyway, as you can see here, standard Matchbox fare for these Orange Series boxes. You have a little bit of depiction on the side there, some more on the other side. And again, here we go. And at the back then you have a impression of what the kit will look like once it's assembled and put in place with the diorama. I actually love that little diorama. As I say, when I was a kid I used to use it just to have my German soldiers hiding behind the broken down walls there and all the rest of it, but fond memories. So anyway, that's the box. Nothing major to report about that other than the artwork, which I think is absolutely excellent. So we'll have a look at the Sprue. Let's have a look and see which one. Actually, I'll show you the Revell box first. This is the Revell box here. Nice artwork from Revell again. It shows the various vehicles in situ. In this instance, you have the vehicle towing the gun and a military police jeep beside it. The markings are not the same within the kits. There is a difference between them. Although interestingly enough, even though this was a sealed box, I didn't get decals within this. I had it for a few years, and I only opened it the other evening to put this together, and unfortunately I discovered there was no decals in it. I was also missing a piece as well, a small little tiny canvas cover for the rear of the vehicle, strangely enough, but a little bit late now to be contacting Revell and all that. The box itself, as you see there, you have a little bit of a blurb on the side about it, some images there of the Jeep and the gun. The driver looks rather pale there. In fairness, they've obviously used the Revell flesh colour. I tend to use the Humbrol one. I think it's a bit more lifelike. He looks a little bit transparent. But anyway, the back of the box then, as usual story with Revell, you have kind of just advertising other products within the range, and that's kind of pretty much it on the case of the box from Revell. So let's have a look at some instructions, perhaps, maybe, which I've just dropped. Here we go. These are the Matchbox instructions. Again, little blurb on it, and I just open it up here. Excuse the rustling. Now, so again, part one there's wheels. Kind of indicates that you would have these wheels rolling or running, if you wish. I didn't, to be honest with you. I'm not sure anyone ever does. Then you have the basic suspension and all the rest of it, and you have the canvas cover and so on and so forth. Then it gets a bit more complicated in parts 5 and 6. Actually, the Revell instructions break this down into a few extra segments there, just to make it a little bit less complicated. Although I use the Matchbox instructions anyway. The Bren gun here, I didn't put the Bren gun in myself, and this is one of the pieces that was missing in my Revell kit. Anyway, not to worry, we'll manufacture something from a little bit of green stuff or something. So again, moving on, there you have the Jeep there, again fairly straightforward, as I always say. Canvas tilt cover. I don't normally put the tilt covers on, but I did in this instance because I thought it looked kind of nice. Then you have the gun itself, fairly straightforward. A little bit fiddly, I found, at the trying to get the base plate in there to this little section here in order to let the gun trails either be put in fixed or open position. Now, obviously, if you're putting them in a firing position, these spades here, you'd have to kind of reverse, and it doesn't actually show you how to do that. It just shows them for the in-transit position here. But I left them in that position anyway myself because I'm wargaming, so sometimes it'll be in transit and other times it won't be. And then the little diorama, then again, and the completed section there. Indicators there as regards decals and paint. The usual story with that. Some more there on that side as well. Gives you two options: Royal Artillery 7th Armoured Division. You can tell there by a little desert rat symbol. Here we go. And then you have, what was the other guy? 11th Armoured, of course. Yes, indeed. There we go. I didn't do this, what they call Mickey Mouse camouflage pattern, mainly because A, I don't like it, and B, I've tried it before and it didn't work out very well for me. So anyway, I'm kind of tying this in with existing units for my rapid fire wargaming, so I didn't go outside of those kind of parameters. The paint scheme here is pertaining to Humbrol colours, but of course, obviously, you can convert online to whatever brand you're using. You'll find conversion charts easily enough. Luckily enough for me, the recommended colour for the main body of the vehicle itself is 86 light olive. That's number C there, which is fortunate because everything I have from my Allied perspective is almost all of it's in Humbrol 86. But as I've said in other videos, if I was to start afresh, I probably wouldn't use 86. I'd use something a little bit darker. But anyway, that's the instructions. So a little look at the sprue, I think, while we're here. I have the 3 sprues here, so I will just gingerly place one on my knee. First one that comes to hand is this one here. This is the diorama piece, as you can see. Bits and pieces of the Jeep there, seats and what have you, and 2 crew members. Not the most exciting of crew members, but all I have to do is drive anyway. I actually left the driver out of the Jeep. I tend to do that when it comes to Jeeps because I just a bit fiddly. I don't really like him, and from if a Jeep gets knocked out and you still have a guy sitting inside, it looks a bit odd, I think, on the tabletop. But anyway, a few what are they? 303 Lee Enfields, the earlier version. It's the what is it, Mark III? I always get those mixed up. It's not the number 4 anyway. That's the main thing. And a Bren there, of course, as well. I didn't use those in mine, and I'll be putting these into the spares box as well, because if you've seen any of my videos, such as my NATO paratroop conversion to World War II or my 51st Highland Division, you'll know I like a little bit of conversion, and having the weapons is a great little advantage. So as I say, they won't be using this kit, and they weren't in the one I've put together, so they'll be going to the spares box for that. Canvas tilt, or whatever it's called, canvas cover, and the side walls there of the cab as well, the canvas walls, a few ammo boxes, and so on and so forth. Nice and handy. Put that over there. Next one, then you have the kind of the base section for the diorama, and wheels and seats and bits and pieces there, as you can see. I must say, absolutely crisp, no flash, nothing. It's very, very nice, and so was the Revell one, which I put together, which I'll show you in a moment. But as I say, very, very good molding on this. This, as I say, from my own perspective, is probably one of the best kits that Matchbox have done. The only comparable one really would be the what is it, SDK have said, is it a 7 or an 11? I can't remember which comes with the Pack 40 gun and the motorcycle and sidecar rider. Has a nice little diorama as well. It's kind of quite similar to this in a German version, for want of a better term. So that's that particular sprue. And the last one then, a few kind of bits and pieces here, as you can see. Bits of the Jeep and so on and so forth. Again, all nice and crisp. The gun shield and gun trails, and of course the 17-pounder gun. 17-pounder, of course, one of the best Allied guns, capable of knocking out most German armour, maybe perhaps not on the front armour of maybe the Panther and Tiger or something like that, but I would do a good enough job at varying ranges and varying types of ammunition. Gun itself, of course, was utilised in the Achilles tank destroyer and the Sherman Firefly. Now people reckon they just literally plonked it in there, or alternatively they rotated it 90 degrees and dropped it in, but there was a little bit more had to be done to it from an engineering perspective to get that particular gun to work in there, because it has a very long what do they call it, run out or run back. I think it's run out. When you fire the gun, the recoil slides back along the mechanism, and it comes back quite a distance because the shell is quite large and the recoil and all the rest of it. So from that perspective, they had to do a little bit of fiddling with it to get it to fit into the Firefly in particular, and the Achilles. So it's not exactly the same gun. It wasn't a question of just taking it off the trails and mount and plonking it into a Sherman. There was a little bit of work had to be done. But yep, that's the 17 pounder. Also, you can see the 17 pounder in another Matchbox kit, which is the Sherman Firefly, which is a nice little kit too. Anyway, moving along, we'll have a look at the decals. Now, because I didn't get the decals in my Revell kit, I had to actually split these. But in fairness to Matchbox, they actually had pretty much duplicate decals, shall we say. So the top half of this decal sheet is, as you can see, absent because I've utilised them. And really all it was different unit markings and serial markings, number markings, whatever it is. And of course, obviously the Allied star as well. So they actually provided 2 of these large stars and another 3 of these lads here, the smaller fellas. But only one delicatessen sign there, unfortunately. So I'd have to come up with something else for the other diorama piece. So I was able to actually, luckily enough, utilise the top half of this in the kit I put together. And then that left me with these for the one which, as you can see, there isn't assembled yet. So, but anyway, these are the 11th Armoured Division markings. So the other one are in 7th, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's just would have been nice to have the same markings, but I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. So that's the markings there, or the decals there, should I say. So let's have a look at the kit itself. Well, as you can see, there it is, sort of laid out as per the box. Actually, it's laid out the other way around. But basically, all I did was give it the assemble it. Obviously, I used Humbrol Matte 33 for the wheels, or tire, should I say. Humbrol Matte 86 for all the green areas, and Humbrol 72 as indicated in the instructions for the canvas areas there as well. I did put a driver into the cab there, if we can see him. He's in there hiding inside there somewhere. And I have to put a little bit of null and oil on him, as I always do on my figures, but I get around to that. As the interior, as you can see, the little piece missing there at the edge. I have one of those. I'll just show you actually that little piece. It's all it is a little canvas roll. So I'm sure I can manufacture something of that nature easily enough. But I said I'd just do the video first before I went making a mess of things. I didn't do a great job of the join line there, as you can see. Kind of took my eye off the ball for a moment and a little bit off centre. But it'll do fine. It's certainly wargaming. But a nice little vehicle, in fairness, I must say. I remember the one I did as a kid. It was basically a ball of glue with 4 wheels sticking out the bottom of it. So I've made some marginal improvements anyway, at least this time around. So that's the Morris. The Jeep itself, if we can pick it up there. Nice little Jeep. Again, as I say, I leave the drivers out of it, and I left the steering wheel out of it as well, because I am debating maybe I'll put a driver into this one. I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but generally speaking, I don't. Just get that to focus there for you. The one thing I'll say about the this little Jeep, of all the Jeeps I've put together over the last 20 or 25 years, that's the sturdiest of all of them, I must say. Some of them are very spindly and wheels are a bit dodgy. Here's the 17 pounder gun. It's a gun. That's what it does. The trails obviously can be in the open or closed position. I found the one that's on your left there a little bit loose, as I say. It just wouldn't close down properly for me, but That's okay. And again, just a brush over on all the three pieces there with a little bit of 53 kind of, what is that? It's a Humbrol enamel, sort of a gunmetal-y type thing, just to give a bit of wear and tear on it. And that's that. Now, there was one little piece down here, if you're very keen-eyed and you know your 17-pounder guns. There's a little piece that broke off there, one of the kind of wheels or the handles on it for, I don't know, is it the traverse or elevation? So I only have half that on it, but yeah, that'll do. And that's that. That's the gun basically. The diorama itself, then, nice detail on it, I must say. Broken windows is all shot to bits. Yeah, looks good. Something of slightly heavier caliber has hit it there. And we have nice brickwork and damage to it. Quite detailed. I really do like it. And of course, you have the what are they, cobblestones, and the footpath or whatever it is there. Now, the back of these dioramas, of course, leaves a little bit to be desired, but what I will do with this when I have the other one put together is I am going to cobble the two of them together into some sort of a platform to make a bit of war games scenery. If you'll see my video on Cheap and Cheerful, or even Cheap and Nasty war games table, you'll see I've utilised a lot of these type of pieces in it. Saves a fortune, really, to be honest with you, and I kind of like doing it, really, is the main reason. But that is the kit itself. And this, of course, is the way that it would be laid out if I was to follow the instructions to the letter. It would look something along the lines of this. Now, as I say, I'm not painting up that particular diorama piece just yet, but I will once I have the other one assembled and the two of them laid out, whatever way I'm going to find myself doing it. The decals themselves were, as I say, this is the Revell version, but these are the Matchbox decals from 7th Armoured. The decals themselves, despite their age, were actually fine. They didn't fall apart, is what I mean by that, because I have recently, if you've seen my Matchbox Avery or AVRE Churchill video and my SE or Esky Churchill AMRCR video. If you haven't, please have a look and like and subscribe and all that business. But you'll hear me bemoan the fact that the decals were a disaster. And they really were, to be honest with you. It was a real nervous breakdown territory. But these ones, I put a little bit of decal fix on the model first in the area where I was going to apply the decal. I actually used a little bit of warm water to get the decal off the sheet, because I found that the decal fix takes forever, and I just find it easier to manipulate it if they've been taken off with water. And none of them broke. They all came together, or came off in one piece, and they applied quite handily enough. I just put a little bit of decal fix, as I say, on the area where it was going to go, and manipulated it into position with a brush, and then just dabbed off the excess decal fix. So I would say probably tomorrow, when these are dry, I'll give them a little wipe with a bit of a cotton bud or a Q-tip, whatever you call it, or maybe a little bit of just soft tissue, just to wipe off any residue. Decal fix is okay. I mean, it's really only just used as an extra form of adhesion. I don't find that it gives the miraculous effects that it claims to, as regards, giving you a painted on effect or that. It just doesn't do it for me, but as I say, I just use it as an extra means of adhesion for the decals to the kit itself. But anyway, that's decal fix for you. But there are better methods of applying decals out there. Microsol and Microfix, I think, are two that come to mind, which I must get hold of one of the days. But I still have 3/4 of a bottle of decal fix, so being frugal, I'm going to utilise that until that's empty, and then I'll revisit the situation. But I must say, I really, really, really love this particular kit. As I had it as a kid, lots of fond memories of this particular one, and I was delighted when it came out again in the, I can't remember exactly what date it was. I'm sure it says it in the box there, but it's in the, I don't know, about 2012 or so. In fact, while we're there, I'll just have a quick check and see, does it say it on the box itself? I can't see it, no. 2006, there we go. So 2006, it was about 2007 when I picked that particular box up, so it's been sitting there for about 9 years, minus its decals, sealed and all, but hey, there you go. So that is that, guys. That is the Morris C.8 Mark II, apparently, 17-pounder gun, and Willy's Jeep by Matchbox. And we'll just leave you with a little look at the artwork there again by Doug Post. I think this is some of his best work, to be honest. I really, really like it. Anyway, that's it, guys. If you'd like and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll be back again with another video or two fairly shortly, and we'll leave you at that. Sorry about this video being so long, but as I say, we're looking at 3 pieces and a little bit of rambling to do. So like and subscribe if you would. Thanks in advance for that, and I better get back to it and dig myself out of this snow here, because I think we now have 3.5 inches. It's end of days times. Guys, talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye now.